All right, hello, friends and family. If you're watching this, please let us know if you can hear us. That's very important. I just want to say here around the world, thank you for joining our Facebook Live. My name is Marhawi. I'm your host, and today we have a special guest, Simone. Welcome.
Thank you, Marawi. I really do appreciate it.
No problem, no problem. Before we dig into our discussion today, of course, we are here to discuss about the dire conditions of Tigrayan refugees who are in Sudan currently. Before we discuss, I just want to say this. The reason why we have this crisis is because on November 4th, the unelected Abiy Ahmed, the prime minister, who wants to be prime minister and he's not elected officially, he declared war on the people of Tigray, and not only is he fighting the Tigrayan forces by himself, he has invited a foreign country. He has invited Isaias Afwerki to join him to kill his own people. Since then, a lot of damage has been happening. A lot of civilians have been dying, and they have been bombarded. They have been shelled. Factories, infrastructures have been destroyed. Schools, hospitals have been destroyed. They have been looted. As a result, many Tigrayans have fled in fear of their lives and looking for safety. And the closest country they can go to was Sudan. And in Sudan, right now, it's estimated more than 60,000 Tigrayans are there right now looking for safety. And it just helped because they just left everything empty handed. And also, it's estimated that more than 1 million Tigrayans are internally displaced. We also have 2.5 million children who are in dire need of basic needs. So today I have a special guest again, Simone. Welcome. So I know that you went to Sudan to see the refugees. That's amazing. So can you tell us your journey? How was your journey going there?
Thank you, Marhawi, for giving me this platform to discuss about not only my journey, but the journey of as you mentioned, more than 50,000 Tagaru that are that have been displaced. Um, One thing to keep in mind is a lot of people send me texts and DM me on Instagram and all that, telling me that how did you do it? How come you're able to go from the U.S. to Sudan? But what's surprising is I went from the U.S. to Sudan, and at the end of the day, I'm coming back home. But there's people that have been displaced, forced to leave their houses, are in Sudan, and they don't have an option to go back. They don't have a home to go back. And when I went to Sudan, I flew, right. I took a flight and I was there. These people had to walk, had to go through a lot of trauma, a lot of drama, to get to where they are. So for me, it was an easy trip. For them, for me, it was a life choice, right? I chose to travel there, but for them, it was forced. Not only forced, but they, most of them have lost a brother, a sister, a mother, someone. They've seen people being slaughtered. They've seen people being beheaded and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Was it
I
difficult for you to get to that refugee camp? Because I know that there were like a lot of security. I know Sudan has, I mean, Sudan itself is not in a good place anyway because they're in conflict with also with Ethiopia, with the federal government when it comes to border conflict. But like, was there people helping you to get there to the
so a
refugee?
lot of people, yeah, I think there's one thing I've noticed is there's a dogmatic understanding of how the camps and how the settlement areas are built. So there's multiple camps. It's not one camp that you go to. There's about four or five refugee camps in Sudan. The biggest one would be one in Hamdayat. There's Shagarab. There's Kasala. There's multiple of them. In terms of security, I think there's no problem. I haven't struggled in terms of I never feared for a second for my life or any kind of I never felt in danger by any means. Um, in fact, I felt secured. The people down there were very awesome. They were very helpful. They wanted to help. As soon as I said I'm here to see my people, they were very engaged. I had some people join my ride to take me to those locations. As I said earlier, there's the understanding that we have about the camps is very dogmatic. Like we don't, most people don't have the real image and the real picture of how the camps work, right? So there's camps that were built by the United Nations and by the UNHCR that are more organized, that have, you know, more or less access to basic necessities. And there are some camps, I would say settlement areas, where they're not organized. They don't have, you know, an organized housing, you know, clinics. There's just, you know, a settlement area where people just came in and they just moved into to abandoned houses.
I
So
see
there's
that.
this place called Hashaba where I went to.
Mhm.
It's one of the most remote refugee camp. I wouldn't call it a camp because it's not a camp at all. And for me to get there, we had to cross a river, and the way to cross the river, there's no bridge, right? We have to get on a boat. When I say we have to get on a boat, we have to get our car on a boat.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
we go there. And once we get there, the biggest concern that I had was nobody asked me questions, right? I took, you know, a bunch of formulas, food supplements. I had a bunch of stuff with me. And nobody checked them. Nobody asked question, right? I could have been an easy, you know, missionary from, you know,
Oh, you
Yemen
could. I
or
mean, you could have the intent to harm people.
exactly.
Yeah.
I could have been carrying poison. I could have been carrying some kind of medication where it make, you know,
Or
our
like
women
guns,
not
or guns, or
exactly.
bombs. Yeah.
And everybody was taking whatever they wanted, and nobody was asking me questions. And I'm like, what? This is not safe. It shouldn't be this way. That's one of the things that I saw. So that's why I said earlier we have some kind of a misconstrued understanding of how the camps are built. The
Okay.
ones in, you know, Kasala, Hamdat, so those camps are more organized. They have security, you know, they have checkpoints, all that stuff. But this one that I went to was very, very unorganized and unorthodox kind of camp.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think I'm glad. The reason why I asked that is because, like, was it safe for you? Because I'm sure that a lot of people who may be interested in going there to help. You know, that's why, like, a lot of Tagaro, like, they may be interested. Like, oh man, I want to go there, like, help out the kids or help out the family. That's why I asked whether it's safe or not. Well, I'm glad though you got there safe. But so now, okay, now you are there. So what was your first impression? I mean, looking what was happening on the news, right? And then you
Mhm.
actually went there in person. What was your impression like?
I would say it was worse. When I say it was worse, not in a sense of they're being treated badly. It's just that the people are not getting. It's just shortage of supplies, right? When I took the items that I took, they were so desperate to get those supplies. I didn't even have a chance to give it to those who needed it the most. Everybody was just coming, jumping, and just taking whatever they can, right? You know, there were men that were taking women's sanitation pad because they didn't know what it was. It was that they were that desperate. And another thing that I want to mention is there are some people that fear that the Sudanese government and the UN agencies are going to force them to go back to Ethiopia. So these people have not joined the camps. They try to stay in the back, or they're staying somewhere very remote, inaccessible. That way, you know, the government is not going to pull them and send them back to Sudan. So that's I was surprised to see that because you know you are in an umbrella where there's a bunch of conventions and you're not going to be, you know, prosecuted or tortured or anything. They don't have to fear, but they don't have that understanding. And I think one of the things that we need to do as Tagaru diaspora is try to travel there and educate them in terms of what they have, you know, what their rights look like. Give them the moral boost that they need. That way, they know they're protected. Some of them fear. Some of them fear um, you know, when I was
Is
taking
it
out my
fear?
camera,
Is it fear, or they're just more traumatized? They're traumatized because of what happened to them and to their families.
yeah, when I say fear, it's fear of being forced to go back, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
The places that they fled from, the reason that they're there is because, you know, it was not safe for them to stay there. So as most of us have heard, we've heard, you know, a lot of rumors going around where the Ethiopian government is working towards relocating this refugees back to Ethiopia, but these
Yeah,
people don't
there
want to
was a
go there.
rumor like that. You're right. Yes.
Exactly. So again, they just don't want to be a political statement where they're forced to be moved to unsafe location, and you know they're being harmed, or you know whatever is going to
Yeah,
happen.
that's very sad. So that means they are like on their own. No, so can the UN help them even though they are like separated from the rest of the people?
Okay, one thing I want to say is in my stay there, I've seen UN you know agencies in Hamdat and Kasala, those camps, but the Hashaba camp, I haven't seen a single UN official. I haven't seen a single UN car. I haven't seen anything that has to do with the United Nations within that camp. Maybe it was my timing because the day I was there, it was Christmas.
Yeah.
So maybe, everybody left for Christmas celebration or something. But I haven't seen a single clinic. I haven't seen a single UN tent. I haven't seen a single, United Nations labeled any kind of thing.
Wow. Anyway, so let me actually show to the people who are watching us right now to prove that you actually were there. But let me see. There's a video, a very interesting video that you are. I don't know what you're handing. I'm going to ask you what you were giving to the kids, but they were so excited. Let me share. Let me show to the people what I'm talking about. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find it here. All right, let me find the video first. Yeah, I saw that video. It's just so exciting.
The kids were very excited, actually.
Yeah, then the kids were just like so happy. And I don't know what you were, I can't tell what you were giving them, but let me see if I can make this full screen. Let me move this here. View. Okay. We're gonna make this full screen so everybody can see. There we go. Let me just play it again because all right, so can you talk about that? So what were you giving them? Well, they were so excited.
These kids are very amazing, actually. They're so beautiful, very nice, very humble. So again, let me talk about a little bit about my team. So when I went there, it was more of a challenge for me. I was challenged to go there. I said if we were able to raise $10,000, then I'm okay with going to Sudan. And I have this amazing team that worked with me. Some of them would be, most of them I might know them. There's Yordi, there's Kiflo, there's a bunch of them. They're super awesome people. So one of the things that they came up with, we need to send some kind of toys for the kids. That way they will have some time, they will have something to spend their time instead of them being stressed and occupied with, traumatizing memories. They will have something to enjoy themselves with. So we took soccer balls, tennis balls, baseballs. So at that time I was giving out tennis balls. So, the little green balls,
Yeah.
that's what I was giving them. And they were just, fighting for it.
For some reason, I don't know. I was under the impression that you were giving them like candies.
No, it was not candy. I was just giving them tennis balls.
All right. So that's great. That's amazing. So did you like bring a lot of products with you to give to the refugees there, or mostly you just brought like some, like you said, some just like soccer ball just for the kids, to have like just to feel like they are home?
Exactly. So the supplies that I took were more of, so I took sanitation pads. I took some diapers, not much, but some diapers. I took food supplements, and I took some sanitizers, masks, and gloves. And as I showed you, some soccer balls, tennis balls, and baseballs. So those are the items that I took. And the reason behind it was because it's easy to carry, right? I can have 6, 7 luggage, and I can take as much with me. I know most people would say you should have taken food, you should have taken some, food with you. But again, I literally don't have any idea of what Sudan is. I've never been there, and my understanding is like if I can't carry it, how am I going to put it in a car and take it all the way there? So
in a way, it's just more like an experiment. Okay, what can I do now? And then like later you can come with a better plan. Okay, that's good. That's amazing. Now let me ask you this. So while you were there, were you able to talk to some parents and children, and then you were able to hear their stories? What were their stories like?
um, that's very sad and very scary. The things that they were talking about. And one of the biggest takes that I had is their hope and their confidence is very amazing. They said, some of the the little kids that I talked to, they said, "Oh, my dad is still there. He's gonna make sure everything is safe, and we're gonna go back." And I'm like, that's so beautiful. Like they don't feel like their parents, for instance, have been slaughtered, or they don't think something else bad has happened to their dad, or their older brother or whatever. I made this little younger, and we were talking, and I was saying that I was asking her questions. I said, why don't you come? What if I adapt you? I'm just being silly and I'm just asking a question. I'll say, hey, what if I adapt you and I take you back to the US and you start living with me? And she said, oh, I have to ask my dad first. And I said, where's your dad? Let's go ask him. And she says, oh, he's back. He's back in Adwa. And I said, okay, so how can we ask him? He said, he'll be here. And when? I don't know, but he'll be here soon. So I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. She's not worried about something bad happening to her. She's confident that her dad is okay and he'll be there to join her very soon. So I haven't had a chance to sit with a lot of refugees and ask them why they're there, what have they lost, what happened to their house, and all that stuff, because of there was time constraints. But their their confidence was something that surprised me, because they were very uplifted, they were very hopeful, and they were very encouraged. And I promise, I know I have no place to promise them, but I promise us as diasporas are coming to help them. That's what I told them, word to word. I said, help is coming.
Yeah, I
Give
think
us a
what I
couple
think.
of time.
Yeah, I think what you saw was the like resilient. That's what you mean. Like by like confident, like that they were resilient, even though a lot of atrocities happened to them. They don't
Exactly.
seem they like a lot of atrocities happen to them because they are very resilient. They're able to
Exactly.
endure so much pain and atrocities, and then these kids still carry that faith and within them, that resiliency. That's amazing.
Exactly. And they're very aware as well. Even though they're in a location where it's very I would say in the dark. You would think they're not getting the information that they should, but they're very aware of what are the things that go on. They know what's happening, and they're very awakened, and they're just amazingly uplifted, and they're very resilient, as you say.
Yeah, they're very bright, aren't they? Very bright, bright
They're very
kids.
bright. I asked the little kid. I told him. So one of the things that there was two little kids, and I asked them how's school, and they said we're not going. I know we've heard multiple times saying that they're going to school, but when I asked this little kid, he said we're not going to school, and I asked him why. He said I don't know. We don't. There's no school here. And I asked him, what do you want to be? And he said, I want to be a doctor. And he said, I want to help my people. Like, that's what word to word. Like, I'm not. You can't make this up, right? He was like, I want to help my people. He was speaking Tigrinya, and I'm not good at Tigrinya, but he was like saying that I want to help my people. And he knows, and he's aware of the damage that is being put to our people. So he was like, I'm going to help my people. I want to be a doctor. I want to save as much life as possible. And it was very inspiring.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So since you were not able to like sit down, probably you didn't have a lot of time, right? You didn't have a lot of time to stay there, and of course
Mhm.
explore more, like listen to their stories. But since you didn't have a chance to do that, can you tell us at least what was like the condition, like what was their condition like? Because one, of course they're not living in a fancy house, and kind of if you can speak of the condition, and then like because right now also don't forget like we're living in the middle of a pandemic.
Exactly. So you mentioned pandemic. So let me just go back a little bit to the airport. So as soon as I got to the airport, my driver was ready there for me. So we took all my luggage and we start straight driving to the camp. So the route was supposed to be 7 hours max. It should have taken me 7 hours to get from the airport to where the camps are. But because of inaccessibility, and again, my driver was basically driving on a farm, like there was no paved roads. We were going through all this terrains and ridiculous roadways, so it took us very long to get there. But once we got there, and I started asking questions, so they were living in a very small kind of brick houses, like very small ones. And I asked, how come, where did they get those houses? So the story that they told me was, so Takaze River was they built some kind of dam on it, and they were building this kind of artificial lake. So when they were building that, there was a lot of farmers that were supposed to be leaving where the lake is supposed to be built. So they had to relocate those farmers. So they built a bunch of housings for them, but the farmers refused to move to those housings. So those houses were abandoned for a very long time. So when this refugees came in, they gave them those houses. So the housing is very good. When I say very good,
See, I
it's
see.
at least, it's a nice house. It's brick built. It has, roofs, and you didn't expect it. When you compare it to the farmhouses, it's much better.
Mhm.
But they don't have, for instance, beds. They don't have sheets. They don't have, the basic. Even though they have good houses, they don't have the necessity, the
Yeah.
needs. That would make them live comfortably. You
Mhm.
can easily send sheets, and you can easily send some kind of mattresses, and they start living at least a very um good kind of life, because they already have the houses.
They have the
And
shelter,
again,
but they didn't have like the food. They didn't have the water. They
exactly.
didn't have like the bed, like you said. And so all those like
And there's no running
basic
water as
necessities.
well. There's no running water. They have to go to the next to bring the water. So they don't have running water.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you observed there, like that was shocking to you?
So between one thing, I wouldn't say shocked. I was more of surprised. So the location that I went to was very close to Humara. It's called Hashabat. And between Hashabat and there's another little town called, not a town, but like some kind of district called, most of us have heard it, called Al Gaddafi. So a lot of people think like Al Gaddafi is more of like a city where a lot of, it's not like Al Gaddafi is more of like a county, and there's a bunch of small cities in it. So between Al Gaddafi and Hashabat, there's a little small kind of a businessy district town called Wadi Hilo. In Wadi Hilo, there's a lot of business owner Tagaros. I went to shops. It's a Tagaro owned shop. You will go to some kind of cafe, and the cafe is owned by Tigrayan. And some of these refugees are going away from the camps, and they're starting to work with that small town, and they take whatever they make back to their people, and they're assisting. So that was like more of a surprise for me to see, because they've already started life there. They're starting to go to job, meet new people, and start being engaged in the society.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Um, so like, and I know that I've been following it very closely about the refugees in Sudan. They said that I think 2/3, maybe 3/3 of the refugees are children. Is that true to you, or like, yeah, if you can
There's
speak
a
about that?
lot of children. There's a lot of children. Again, and like, think about this: when a mom when one mom is moving from one area to another, she probably has like 3 4 kids. So I would say it's more than 2/3. And again, the number 55,000, I don't agree with it. I think it's way more than 55,000, because, as I say, there's some refugees that are not happy with going to the UN and registering themselves and being a part of more organized camps. So I think it's way more than 55,000 to start with. But the kids, again, is way more than 2/3. There's a lot of kids. I think I saw maybe a couple of hundreds men, adult men. Majority of them were women and young children, and one mom could have like 3 4 infants. When I say this, like, she would have like a 1 year old. She would be hugging a 1 year old. She would have a 2 year old baby running around, and she would have like a 3 year old, giving her some hard time. It's a bunch of babies. Like, when I say bunch of babies, there's a lot of kids in there.
And also pregnant women too, right? Pregnant women, they when they got there, they give birth. Some of them give birth on the way to the refugee camp.
I made 2 pregnant women in the camp.
Wow.
And in fact, when I met the last one, I think I have a video of that one actually. I'm not sure if I could be able to share it. But when I made the last one, I ran out of supplies. I didn't have anything to give, so I gave her cash. I gave her cash, that way she would buy her own supply.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, okay, that's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing. So now let's talk about. I'm sure a lot of people will be watching this here in the United States, also around the world, and I'm sure that a lot of people want to help. So if you can talk about what are the top, maybe 5 things. What are the top? If you cannot think of 5 things, think of like three. What are the
Okay.
top 5 things or 3 things that you think they need the most? Like we're talking about the refugees, the Tigrayan refugees that they need the most, and how they can get help.
Okay. First thing is, I would say they need people. They need, as I said, they need people with education to go there and guide them towards the right path. So if anybody here is interested in going to Sudan, it's very easy. Especially if you're a U.S. citizen, you don't need any visa. You can travel there. If you're not a U.S. citizen, it's very easy to get the visa there. and the flight is not as expensive as you guys think. It's more or less affordable, and you don't have to spend 3 4 days there. The whole trip for me took me 5 days, but you guys can go there and get back home in 3 days. So if you go on Friday, you can be back on Sunday evening. So first thing is that if you can go there, it's very easy. And if you guys need guidance in terms of getting a driver, and again, it's getting a driver and getting a car is very very cheap. It's not as expensive as you guys might think. So if you guys, if anybody in here wants to go there and they have any questions, they can always contact me and I can help them getting visa, get a driver there, and guide them through the right path to get to the refugees as well. The second thing that these people need is they need a lot of food supplements, especially the kids. They're not getting the nutrients that they should get. We want to make sure, they are the next generation. We want to make sure they're educated. And education, as most of us know, is not just about learning 1 2 3 or ABC. They need the right nutrition. That way, their mind can develop on the right path. So food supplements they need, a pad. When I say pad, sanitation pads for women's, and besides that, they don't have any PPEs. They don't have anything to fight COVID. They don't have masks. They don't have gloves or sanitizers. I took some, but I promise you guys that's not even close to being enough to them. So I think I've mentioned 4 or 5, right? So these are the main things that I saw. But more than anything, they need people. They need people to go there, to sit down and talk to them, guide them, give them advices, educate them in terms of what being a refugee is and what is.
They also like therapy, right? That's also like
exactly, yes,
help them with their mind health, mental health.
exactly. I've met a lot of psychiatrists and that have DM'd me asking me that if they can go there, and I said, hey, if you have any knowledge about psychology, please go there, especially for the kids. We don't want to have a generation where they're misguided and misconstrued. So let's make sure we go there and talk to them. For us, it's a couple of days. For them, it's a lifetime.
Great. Okay. And then, of course, I mean, you've been also active, super active in the DMV area with the protests and stuff like that. I know I'm here in Boston and we're trying to be super active as well. Is there like a website that you can lead people to if they want to like donate money, like, if they can give anything, but they want to give money? Is there like a link, best link to send it?
Yes, there's multiple
to guide them.
Yes, there's multiple GoFundMe links that we can go to and donate. Me and my team right now, we don't have any donation links or whatever to receive donations. And I've been asked multiple times, but we might in the coming days we might create a GoFundMe account and publish it. But I think everybody knows TDA. I don't agree with donating to UNHCR. I just don't. So make sure that you're donating to an organization that's more local. When I say local, owned and run by Tagaros. So I think every state has one. I know in DMV we Next Generation Tagaru has a GoFundMe that they're running. So if you guys need the link, I'll put it in my bio. And the other thing is, there's a lot of people that are doing one-to-one assistance. When I say this, for instance, the guy that had twins and their mom died on the way, and he traveled.
Yes. Oh my God, that's their heartbreaking story.
Yes, so we have a contact that is funneling funds to him. So if you guys want to help him, you can actually contact me, and I have someone where you can send the money, and he will get it personally. And so we're working on that kind of donations as well. So again, look at your local community. They have a GoFundMe link, I'm sure. And beyond that, if you see someone, for instance, if you see a story of a guy that did something crazy, or a mom that did something crazy, and you want to help them directly, contact me, and I'm sure we can find a way where you can directly assist them.
That's great, Simon. Thank you so much. I appreciate it for your time. One last thing. So what's your final message to the young Tigrayans, Tagaru, who they may want to get involved, but sometimes, sometimes they can be like shy, or they just maybe they're not inspired. So what's your message?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. In fact, I really want to say something, okay? First, before I go there, January 8th, there's a protest in Washington, D.C. So Anybody that lives in Washington, D.C., please join us. January 8th, it's going to be at the State Department. We have to be there to be a voice to the voiceless, to be a voice to the people that can't make their own reasoning. So let's be there to be a voice for them. This is our people, our family, our relatives. So let's be there. Second thing is the young generation. I'm really proud of the younger generation. That everything that is being done right now, if you notice, from the websites that are being run, the hashtags that are being created, the communities, everything that is being done is the youth that's doing it. The noise that we're making. If you go to Twitter, everybody that is fighting is the youth. We have organizations that have been existing for the past 40, 50 years that reside all around the world. I don't want to call names, but we have multiple Tagalog organizations that have been organizing events, holding meetings, and existing as an organization for years. And we have us, the youth, that just starting doing stuff. But when you compare apples to apples, what they're doing and what the youth is doing is uncomparable. We are the ones right now that are making impacts. If you go to Twitter, if you go to, even you guys, you go to TPN, you go to, there's a multiple organizations and associations that are literally making impacts. When I say impacts, you know what happened yesterday? We were trending #1 in the US, Europe. That didn't happen because of the organization that we've had for years and years. It's because of us, the generation, wanted to make an impact, and we did. So we need to do more. I know there's a lot of users that are staying in the corner, not sure on how to help. Just send a DM to me or anybody that's engaged. I'm sure we have tweet banks, we have a lot of things that are prepared and pre-ready. All you gotta do is just reach to us and we will just funnel it to you and you will make an impact. Every single thing that you see, the reason that the European Union is engaged, the reason a lot of celebrities are engaged, the reason we hear, the reason Tigray genocide was trending yesterday is not because the older generation did something. It's because us Tagalog, the youth, we came together and we're making impact. And we need to keep doing it. What surprised me was I joined this Zoom meeting a couple of days ago, and it was support for Tagaros. It was like a support group, and there was a lot of people, and they had doctors, they have a bunch of people talking. And I started asking who organized this. It was because it was very beautiful, it was very nice. And it's an 18-year-old girl. 18, she's just 18. And this is the impact that she's making. So it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, you can make an impact. It's us right now. It's us that are stepping forward and making impact. So let's keep doing it. And I love every single one of y'all that's doing this.
Thank you, Suman. I just want to add a couple of things to what Suman said. Also, yes, exactly. Don't be afraid to make a difference. To make a difference, it does not require age. It doesn't require age. You can be young, like he said, you can be 18, you can be 15. You are still able to make a difference. So continue to make a difference, continue to raise awareness, continue to make noise. Also, stay away from propaganda because we don't want to hear any propaganda right now. Stay away from any propaganda that doesn't help Tigrayan cause or Tigrayan movement. So I just want to say, someone, thank you so much for coming. And for those who are watching us, thank you for watching our Facebook Live. We'll definitely keep doing this. We're gonna have someone again. Thank you, someone. Have a good night. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Stay safe, okay? Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.